Should the Seahawks trade for the Chicago Bears linebacker Roquan Smith? The answer is no. In fact, the answer is no, 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 and no. Over the last few years, the Seahawks have got into a habit of paying a high price for non-premium positions. In this instance with Seattle, I'm talking about linebacker and safety. It all started a few years ago when the New York Jets blew up the linebacker market, paying CJ Mosley right as Bobby Wagner was due a new contract. In order to keep Wagner, they had to pay him $18 million a year. It was a huge price, but it was somewhat justifiable given that Bobby Wagner and Russell Wilson were seen as the future of the team and the present of the team. And they paid a star player to stick around, and you could easily argue that Wagner deserved his big contract given where the market was. So they paid him, but that was just the start. Then they go and invest a first-round pick in Jordan Brooks, which again, Jordan Brooks is a reasonably good player. He could end up being well worth that first-round pick, but you're talking $18 million at one linebacker position, a first-round pick at the other. In the year that they actually drafted Jordan Brooks, they paid KJ Wright a handsome contract for that year as well. And then you look at the safety position. They spend a second-round pick on Marquise Blair. They then trade 2 first-round picks plus to bring in Jamal Adams in a trade that simply has not worked for the Seahawks. And now they are paying Quandre Diggs a new contract, which next year will give him a cap hit of $18 million. It's just too much. It has been too much over the last few years. They have to start prioritizing other positions. I think they have started that. Look at what they did in the draft this year. They spent a top 10 pick on a left tackle. They spent a third-round pick on a right tackle in the second round. They took a pass rusher in, Boya Mafe as well. I think they are starting to make a turn and to say, look, we are going to prioritize key positions. They've drafted 2 cornerbacks in the range that they like to draft cornerbacks. And by all accounts, the 2 young rookie cornerbacks have showed really well in camp and appear set to start the game against Pittsburgh because of injuries to the 2 starters, Burns and Jones. So all good so far. But there's one thing that the Seahawks do not have right now, and that is a quarterback. And they are going to have to address this position. I don't think anybody can say with a straight face that Geno Smith is going to be an option for anything beyond this year. He may not even be the option for this year, quite frankly. I mean, he's not a good player. And with Drew Lock, it's a swing and a hit and hope that he will amount to anything at this point. They're probably going to have to draft a quarterback next year. And in order to do that, they need to keep their high draft picks. And they need to invest in a good quality young quarterback who gives them club control for a number of years because of the rookie salary scale, which will enable them to build around that young quarterback. That is the sensible plan, and it is in fact the plan that I think they're going to do. I think they're just biding their time for the 2023 quarterback class. I've talked about it a lot. I'm a big Will Levis fan. I think he ticks a lot of boxes that Seahawks look for, and I think he's probably going to be the guy that they really focus on. On top of that, you've got Tyler Van Dyke, who I think is fantastic and is underrated in the media. I think he's a great option. And then you've got the 2 big names that everybody talks about, Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. I think you could get a quarterback in the next draft, and there may even be others that will emerge over the course of the next few months in college football as well. That is what you want to do. But you need your picks. Don't trade a pick away now, blind, thinking, okay, this is a great idea, when let's say that they win 8 games next year. Let's say they get to 8 wins. You then might have to trade up to get a quarterback. Are you going to trade away one of your first-round picks or even one of your second-round picks to Roquan Smith? And it's probably going to take a first-round pick to get Roquan Smith. I don't know why the Bears would trade him for anything less than a first-round pick. He's a big name. He cost them a very high first-round pick. He's at a good age. The Bears are going to want big compensation for him. You're not going to be able to get him for like a mid-rounder. You're going to have to pay a premium for him, and then you're going to have to pay him a huge contract. You just can't justify that, given what you have done. You cannot go into next year saying, okay, we only have 1 first-round pick and maybe a couple of seconds, or only 1 second in order to address the quarterback position, and end up having to do some stupid trade like the 49ers did to get Trey Lance. Now, maybe the Seahawks will be bad enough that they don't have to trade up and they'll just be able to take a quarterback anyway. But I would argue that trading for Roquan Smith gives you a better chance of being out of range for the quarterbacks because you're adding another good young player to the defense. And for me, it's not even just about the quarterback position. And really, they need to retain all the stock they got just in case they have to trade up to get their quarterback. They have to do that. They have to protect their picks, and they have done so far. They haven't gone out and traded for Baker Mayfield or Jimmy Garoppolo or anybody like that. They have protected their picks, doing the right thing. But just apart from that, let's say that you have a top 5 pick and you can pick the quarterback that you want and you get him. With that other first round pick, why not go and get another pass rusher? Why not go and get another weapon for your quarterback? Why not go and get a great center or a guard or something? Why not go and get a position that is going to add to what you've got? Do you really need to have, major investment at safety, major investment at linebacker, and still have question marks on your offensive line, your pass rush, and your weapons? This has got to be a rebuild that is built around the premium positions, and that for me is O-line, D-line, quarterback, receiver, which has become a premium position, especially with the cost of receivers these days, and your cornerbacks, the guys that are going to cover those receivers. That is where the league has gone. That is where your investment needs to be. And you may say, well, would you rather have Roquan Smith or an unknown rookie receiver? Well, I'd throw it around to this. Are the Seahawks going to win in the future because of the fact that they have 2 massively expensive, high investment linebackers? Or are you going to win because as the receiver market explodes and all of these guys are earning millions and millions of dollars, you find a true number 3, and there's a saying that I tend to agree with in the modern NFL, that you're only as good as your 3rd receiver. And D. Eskridge has not worked out so far, and the Seahawks have got some tight ends that they may be able to use and get some value out of, but they've really only got Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Tyler Lockett's been around for a long time now. Is he going to keep going and keep going? Hopefully so, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if you do get your quarterback early to then go and invest in a receiver who you've got clue control of for 5 years without having to pay them a massive contract to grow with that quarterback. That to me would be a better investment along with your quarterback next year than it would be sort of saying, well, we're just going to use 1 pick on Roquan Smith and maybe a 2nd round pick as well and hope for the best in terms of the quarterbacks next year, or hope that Drew Lock's going to be the answer, or hope that you can find someone in the later rounds. That to me is not a plan. That would be just a bad move. Now, if Roquan Smith was a free agent and they'd have signed him in free agency a few months ago, absolutely no issue with that. Even if they'd paid him a big contract, wouldn't have had any issue with that. If you can get good quality young players, then great, no problem. But this trading for young players, bringing them in, paying them in the way that you did with Jamal Adams, it just hasn't worked. It didn't work with Adams. It's not worked with Percy Harvin. Okay, they didn't pay Jimmy Graham, but they acquired him, and it just didn't work. The Seahawks have got to accept what this rebuild is, and I do think they accept that. I just want fans and media to accept that as well. People have been saying, should they trade for Roquan Smith? I haven't seen anybody say they should. They've just asked the question. For me, it's not even a question. No, they should not be trading for Roquan Smith. They should not be paying him a huge contract to then stay in Seattle for the next 4 or 5 years. They have Jordan Brooks. Have a look what Cody Barton can do. Get cheap production at linebacker like most teams do. If you need to draft, if Cody Barton doesn't work out, just draft somebody else in the middle rounds next year. You had opportunities to draft linebackers this year and you chose not to. So you can't ignore what I thought was a pretty good linebacker draft class completely. Didn't draft anybody. And then a few months later turn around and trade for Roquan Smith. That doesn't make any sense. You had the chance to get cheap talent at linebacker. You put your faith behind Cody Barton alongside Jordan Brooks. And I think with the way that the system's going to work, we're probably going to see Jamal Adams working in linebacker type roles as well. Maybe it's like a death backer to try and get the most out of him and try and get him running towards the ball, running forwards, not trying to cover too much, not trying to do the things that doesn't suit his playing style. So I don't think they even need a linebacker. And I don't think they're going to trade for Roquan Smith. But I just want to address this question that some fans and media have been asking. I know that Brock and Salt were talking about it as well. No. No to Roquan Smith. Yes to keeping your picks with the idea of drafting a quarterback next year. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and for more, check out SeahawksDraftBlog.com. See you next time.